Now, this all started around 6:45 last night. Good evening, I'm Darren Leeds. Macomb police officers went to a home on North Normal Street to serve a search warrant. Per protocol, they announced their presence. That's when they were shot by someone inside the home. They were taken to a local hospital and then transferred to Peoria. About 45 minutes later, just after 7:30, faculty and students at Western Illinois University's Macomb campus, which is in the same area, received an emergency alert. Around 9:30, a second alert went out. At 10 p.m., we learned the suspect was still inside the home. That's about the time our crews arrived on scene. At 11, we were briefed by police for the first time. All night, police stayed on scene trying to get the suspect to come out of the house and surrender. Our crews watched and waited. We've been on scene all day. Earlier, we learned Western Illinois canceled classes and told faculty to stay away. And just hours ago, police tell us the suspect was finally taken into custody. KHQA's Ben Schmidt is working for you tonight to tell us what police are saying right now. Ben?
At 4 p.m., we learned the name of the suspect involved in last night's shooting. Macomb Chief of Police Jeff Hamer announced that 38-year-old Shaquem M. Mathis peacefully surrendered at around 2:10 p.m. Now, behind me, you can see the house where Mathis had been barricaded inside since an attempted search warrant last night. He did shoot two officers, one in the torso and one in the leg, but both have been released from the hospital and are recovering. As a result, Mathis has been charged with 4 counts of aggravated battery to a police officer and 1 count of aggravated discharge of a firearm. Additional charges are also pending.
Both officers are recovering at home and are expected to make a full recovery. The Macomb Police Department wants to express my relief that this incident came to a peaceful conclusion and there were no further injuries.
Now, the street behind me is still closed. It is currently an ongoing investigation. Law enforcement doesn't believe anyone else was inside the home, but was unable to confirm at today's press conference. As the investigation continues, we will continue to keep you updated both on air and online. Working for you in Macomb, I'm Ben Schmidt.
All right, thank you, Ben. Well, neighbors reached out to KHQA this morning to share video of the scene and tell us what they had been seeing and hearing all night.
Out the front door, put your hands up and unarmed, do it now.
Richard Barnett is a pastor at University Baptist Church in Macomb. He lives right across the street from the home where all of this went down. Pastor Barnett tells us he was up all night and he couldn't believe the scene unfolding right across the street.
About 3:30 in the morning, just before 3:30, the police attempted an initial breach. And shots were fired. I'm assuming from the house. You could hear the officers yelling, "Shots fired." Again, at just about daybreak, about 6:45, they made another breach attempt using tear gas through the back door. And then again, about 8 o'clock, we could hear some crunching sounds where it sounded as though they took the breaching vehicle and we're trying to make another attempt to gain access to the house.
Barnett tells us he and his wife were asked to stay in their home during the standoff. He believes at least one house in the neighborhood was evacuated as a precaution. Now, we'll continue to follow this story as it develops. Catch up 24 hours a day at KHQA.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Well, 2 officers are recovering tonight after a routine search warrant took a dangerous turn. After almost 20 hours, a standoff ends. This after 2 Macomb police officers were shot in the line of duty while serving that warrant. This all started around 6:45 last night. Good evening, I'm Darren Leeds. Macomb police officers went to a home on North Normal Street to serve that search warrant. Per protocol, they announced their presence, and that's when they were shot by someone inside the house. They were taken to a local hospital, then transferred to Peoria, and about 45 minutes later, just after 7:30, faculty and students at Western Illinois University's Macomb campus, which is in the same area, received an emergency alert. Around 9:30, a second alert went out. At 10 p.m., we learned the suspect was still inside the home. That's about the time our news crew arrived on scene. At 11, we were briefed by police for the first time. All night, police stayed on scene, trying to get the suspect to come out of the house and surrender. Our crews watched and waited. We've been on scene all day. Earlier, we learned Western Illinois University canceled classes and told faculty to stay away. And just hours ago, police tell us the suspect was finally taken into custody. Well, KHQA's Ben Schmidt is working for you tonight to tell us what police are saying right now. Ben, what do you got for us?
It's the site of where 38-year-old Shaking M. Mathis peacefully surrendered at approximately 2:10 p.m. today. Now, last night, prior to the shooting, officers were attempting to conduct a search warrant at around 6:44 p.m., which Chief of Police Jeff Hamer said is normal for that time of night. However, Hamer could not confirm the search warrant was for at today's press conference. It was also mentioned at the press conference that Mathis is believed to have some sort of criminal history, although the charges date back to over a decade ago. Although the incident took place just footsteps from Western Illinois University, Mathis is not believed to have any affiliation with the university or the campus.
Mathis is not a WIU or a Spoon student. There's no affiliation there. There's some limited criminal history that's over 12 years old. We did not have any criminal contact with the person, either with the sheriff's office or OPS or my department.
Now, for the two officers who were shot, Hamer would not release their names or information, but did say that they were shot in the torso and the leg, and they are now at home recovering. As the investigation continues to unfold, we will keep you updated. But for now, working for you in Macomb, I'm Ben Schmidt.
All right, thank you, Ben. Neighbors tell KHQA it was a chaotic night. Some were asked to stay inside their homes today until the situation was resolved.
And of course, we can't leave. We're kind of stuck here in the house, and being a pastor, that might prove difficult if something happens with a church member and I need to get out. I'm not sure how that will take place unless I sneak out the back alley, but.
Richard Barnett is a pastor at University Baptist Church. Once he learned that he was stuck at home, he and his wife offered to do what they could to help.
But we've seen state, county, Galesburg police, and of course, City of Macomb and WIU police all throughout the evening. I've been up most of the night because I offered through police dispatch that if any of them needed to use the bathroom or needed coffee, to just come in the front door and announce themselves. And
Pastor Barnett says he doesn't know the man who lived in the house. In fact, he said until all of this unfolded last night, he thought the house was vacant. Well, we'll continue to follow this story as it develops. Catch up 24 hours a day over at KHQA.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. A harrowing situation comes to a peaceful end in the city of Macomb. KHQA has been working for you since we were alerted that 2 Macomb police officers were shot in the line of duty. Tonight, we have new, previously unseen video. A resident on the 300 block of North Normal Street provided this video to KHQA. Trapped in their homes during the almost 20-hour standoff, the resident was able to capture this video. As you can see, the suspect, Shaking Mathis, is handcuffed and is walked to a transport vehicle after turning himself in. Meanwhile, KHQA stayed throughout the entire night and into the day to monitor the scene and heard from Chief of Police Jeff Hamer once the suspect was in custody. KHQA's Ben Schmidt is working for you to share how it all unfolded and what's next for those involved.
What started as an attempt by the Macomb Police Department to serve a search warrant nearly 20 hours prior.
Not unusual at all. It was still daylight. The officers knocked and announced their presence.
Led to 2 officers being shot and the suspect barricading himself inside the home. Meanwhile, other officers, ambulances, rescue teams, and more made trips to and from the 300 block of North Normal Street, eventually leading to a peaceful surrender. And the announcement that followed.
The suspect, Shaking M. Mathis, a 38-year-old male, of the 300 block of North Normal Street in Macomb was taken into custody without further incident and transported to the McDonough County Jail.
Mathis, who does have past criminal history, although over 12 years old, is facing 4 counts of aggravated battery to a police officer and 1 count of aggravated discharge of a firearm, along with other potential charges. Meanwhile, the 2 officers have already been discharged from the hospital and are recovering, leading Mayor Michael and Manda recognize their work.
I just want to double down on what the chief said about the bravery and dedication and commitment of our Macomb police. The last 24 hours, if anybody in this community had any doubt, that has been erased.
And for Mathis, next steps include a detention hearing on Friday. Working for you, I'm Ben Schmidt.
All right, thank you, Ben. We'll continue to follow this story as it develops further. Catch up 24 hours a day on KHQA.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.